Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My younger sister went through a pretty rough time as a young adult, drinking and doing D and generally being wild. She ended up getting pregnant young, and she did not want the child after giving birth. Despite never wanting children myself, either I stepped in and adopted my newborn niece as my daughter. My then boyfriend gave me an ultimatum, him or her, as he didn't want children either. I picked her, and he left me, which resulted in me suddenly being a single mother. The first few years were rough as a single parent, barely making ends meet, but I managed, and my sister had nothing to do with us. I never once hid the truth from my daughter that she was adopted, but always assured her I loved her so much and was her mummy. When my daughter was 6, my sister was finally clean and wanted to have access to her. I allowed it, but stressed she would just be an aunt to her, and she accepted this, though it's clear she struggled with the concept and sometimes acted more like a mother, which I always squashed quickly. Now my daughter is 8, and I've been offered a job in a different country. The pay is almost double my current salary, so of course I'm going to take it. But this resulted in my family having a meltdown about how I can't do this, and how it's cruel to take my daughter away from her family, and how it's not fair to my sister. My sister has told me she won't allow me to move away with her, and that she'll fight in court to get my daughter back. I've talked to lawyers, and it seems she doesn't have a leg to stand on, as my daughter is legally my daughter, but the rest of my family is telling me I'm being extremely cruel, and if I cared about my sister, I'd turn this job down. Edit. As I keep being asked this, yes, my daughter is excited about the move. She's of course sad about leaving her school and friends, but I've been teaching her about the country and letting her try foods from there. She knows she can FaceTime or message her friends, and we'll be visiting. Giving birth doesn't make someone a mother. When that baby needed an adult, it wasn't OP's family that stepped in. It was childless, in a relationship OP, who sacrificed to meet the child's needs. OP is that kid's mom, and if OP needs to move with her, she needs to do it. And now let's hear the community's opinion. Not the a-hole. Where was all this concern over the girl when your sister was putting her up for adoption? Were they helping you when you were a single mom and struggling? Why is it so important now, when if you hadn't sacrificed your freedom, she'd have been adopted by strangers, and no one would know her now at all anyway? You take that job, and give that kid an amazing opportunity to see a whole other part of the world. Edited to add, your sister doesn't get to play mom when it's convenient. You stepped up when she dipped. Now she has to accept the consequences that she doesn't have a daughter. You do. Absolutely not the a-hole. Assuming that your daughter is on board with this change, and with my recommendation that you make this decision with her input, congratulations on this wonderful opportunity. I hope you and your daughter have the adventure of a lifetime. Girl, run. Don't walk to the airport, and get you and your daughter out of there. If you cave on this, I promise that worse things are to come. My parents adopted my niece when she was 6 months old, and when my sister got her crap together, we had the same battles. Do not tell them when you are leaving. You can Skype them from the new home. This has red flags everywhere. You are not the a-hole. Do what you have to do for your family. Update. So I got a call from the school today that a woman not on the list had come around and tried to pick up my daughter, claiming she was the mother. She had claimed there was a family emergency, and she needed to take my daughter home early. Now, only myself and my best friend are marked down as able to pick up my daughter, and when they wanted to see her ID, she got cagey and claimed she forgot it, and when they told her she couldn't pick her up without an ID, she shouted at them before storming off. I've spent all day on the phone to my lawyers and my boss. My schedule is being moved ahead. I'd wanted to give my daughter a final Christmas in our current home, but it's clear that's not a safe idea anymore. Our move has been brought forward, and my company is putting us in a hotel until they find us a home. Update 2. I'm currently writing this from our room where we are self-isolating in a whole brand new country. I thought I'd give you all an update while my daughter sleeps, and waiting for her to wake up for Christmas morning. Firstly, many of you may be wondering the country we're in, and I'm very pleased to tell you we're in South Korea. For our own privacy, I will be leaving out the name of the city and area we're in. The people here have been amazing and gone above and beyond for us, as we're currently the only family with a child here. They even gave us a Christmas tree, which we spent last night putting up. It would seem my attempts to introduce my daughter to Korean cuisine has had an unexpected side effect. Her favorite food is now fish fingers with kimchi. I guess this is the life of a mom raising their kid in a different culture. It's revolting. Please send help. Now, many of you may be wondering about my family and more specifically my sister. Well, just because my lawyers talked me out of making a police report doesn't mean we did nothing. They gathered reports from the school and CCTV footage, and then I invited my parents for a meeting at my lawyer's office where all the evidence was laid down. They had no idea, and my mother broke down crying. I made it clear our connections were firmly cut, and if when my daughter is an adult and wants to get in contact, we will reconsider then. But for now, for our safety, we will be going no contact. I kept the date of our flights a secret, and my best friend has my keys and is closing up the house for me and going to ship me heavier items when we are properly settled. My first action on entering the country was to contact the local authorities with the proof that my daughter was my daughter, in case my family tried to pull any BS. And the people here are also aware of my situation, and no one can find anything out about us without a password. I honestly feel like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders, and this is the start of a whole new life for us. Wishing you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hi there. Really weird one here, but to cut a long story short, my brother moved in with me at the start of lockdown because he was living in hotels for some reason. I recently found out this was because he owes around £260,000 in debts to a multitude of small businesses for various reasons. A lot of these cases have gone to the high court, and he is being actively pursued by bailiffs. When he moved in, he was relatively normal, but vague about why he was living in hotels, etc. Then, as lockdown went on, he started to get more and more obsessed with these free men on the land, common law types, which has led to some major disputes, like saying he doesn't have to wear a mask because he's not a subject of the crown, but the Cromwellian Lord Protectorship, and is trying to annex land from the fields behind our house because, apparently, you can claim land by throwing a hatchet at four corners. Well, recently the bailiff somehow caught up with him, and they were pretty nice lads. Explained everything to me, but after he said he wouldn't pay, even if he had all the money in cash, they took his car. Ever since this, my brother has been furious with me, so we started avoiding each other around the house. This weekend I went away for a mini break on the coast, and came back to find all the locks have been changed and windows boarded up. Garden furniture is nowhere to be seen. Rang my brother, who basically explained as the house was unclaimed, he'd made a de facto eviction of me from the house, making him sole owner, and if I attempted to make entry, he'd have every right to K me under the provisions of an Englishman's home is his castle. I'm staying with my parents, which isn't ideal as they should be shielding, and I went on the mini break. But when I contacted the police, I was told as a tenant, he has every right to change the locks. Dead confused. Any help is very much appreciated. Edit. By the way, in England. Also, very scared if more bailiffs come to the house. They'll seize my stuff thinking it's his. Your brother has committed a number of criminal offenses. Criminal damage, potentially burglary, eviction contrary to the Protection from Eviction Act 1977. The police were not correct because 1. How would they know whether it's a tenancy or license? And 2. It's obviously not a tenancy. You live there and never intended to grant him exclusive possession, and literally couldn't if you were still living there. So call them up on 101 and report that someone has evicted you out of your own home. However, it's going to be about seeing a solicitor and having him evicted if you want to do it the proper way. The courts are hearing trespasser injunctions at the moment. Accelerated possession should be easy enough. In the alternative, you could actually break the locks and force him out, but the police may need to be called given a breach of the peace might occur. As you are a displaced residential occupier, you are entitled to use reasonable force to ensure entry to the property, and he is an excluded occupier, so you can turf him out onto the street. The reasonable notice here to end his license of occupancy has almost certainly elapsed. Ironically, this is the actual common law remedy of self-help. He can't not consent to that. Obviously, that presents practical difficulties, so it may be better to get the order and send the bailiffs round and see how much they are amused by his common law crap. You would be entitled to damages, but obviously if he has £260,000 in debt, you're not going to get any money from him. Get a locksmith. You are the rightful owner and can prove it. Get the locksmith to change the locks and evict your brother. If you're feeling really snarky, you could use the same law he used to evict you. It sounds like you're being mighty tolerant of insolent, bratty behavior. Get him out by any means. Change the locks. Make it clear he is banned from ever returning to your house. Inform any debt collection agencies that he is no longer residing in your property. You need to come down hard on this with zero tolerance. Quick update. I'm speaking with solicitors about what I can do now and how we can get rid of him. Rang 101 and police aren't exactly helping. They dragged their feet and said I'd need to go to court, etc. But yeah, solicitors have told me that this won't be too hard and he should be out ASAP. Update 2. For those of you who have been following my little saga, got some great news. Back in the house and otherwise everything's still here. Spent the whole day making sure. And nothing's been trashed, but there's tons of Domino's boxes in the kitchen. Apparently he'd contacted the bank trying to access my accounts and spunked any money he had left on pizzas in celebration, so he's now both homeless and has no money. So spoke to a solicitor who's my dad's one, and he basically picked apart literally every bit of this common law BS, and we rang the police. Again, got stonewalled with a tenants can change the locks, you need an eviction order. Solicitor explained the situation about how he was a guest and evicted me. Response back was literally, I'm afraid there's nothing we can do. You need to take this up with the housing authority because it's a civil matter, not a criminal one. Well, solicitor basically said police aren't going to help us, so we can either go for a court order or try and get bailiffs now. Went for the second, as I need him out ASAP, and they said this would be very easy. So bailiffs turn up with locksmith. I don't exactly know what happened as me and the solicitor were waiting around the corner, but I do know the police were called, and he got carted away. I assumed that'd be the end of it, but he's been contacting my parents saying he's the rightful owner of the house now, and that he just needed some time to get back on his feet. Well, they've basically disowned him as of this, so looks like he's kind of screwed himself. And I assume the police let him back on the streets, so going to have to be wary, but I just hope he sods off. My parents became foster parents after I, 16 male, was born. They actually adopted 3 kids from foster care before they decided to stop fostering. At the time, my parents say they wanted to focus more on their kids. But really, I think they were struggling with 4 of us, and I think near the end, fostering became more for the money than anything. I'm the oldest and their bio kid, so they didn't worry if I felt like I belonged or not. I had to make more sacrifices than my siblings. Stuff for me came last. I got less than my siblings too, and gifts were cheaper, so they could splurge a little for my siblings. So for Christmas, I'd maybe get some clothes and books, and I don't really read. My siblings would get toys and tablets and stuff they loved. For my birthday, I'd get a smaller cake and essentials as gifts again. When I was 12, my grandparents bought me a laptop for my birthday, and my parents pressured me into giving it up so it could be used as a family computer instead of a personal one just for me. I said no the first time, but my parents weren't going to accept it. I don't get to go out with my friends often because my parents don't want to use gas driving me, and they don't want to give me money to eat or go to a movie or whatever. They also send me to birthdays without a gift for my friends, so I've asked my grandparents for money sometimes to buy a gift for my friends. My parents never send my siblings without gifts for their friends. My parents wanted me to get a job, but they wanted me to do that so I could put the money into the household. Since I get the short end of the stick, I don't want to add money to make everyone else's lives easier, but not mine, and I don't believe it would make my life easier. In October, my grade will have the chance to go on the school's interactional trip. We were told about it in February, so we can save up and get numbers. I pleaded with my parents to find a way to send me. I got my grandparents to help me talk them through it, and they agreed, so they started saving. Then a week ago, my parents announced that my younger brother's birth mom is pregnant again, and she approached them to do a private adoption so her kids could be raised together. My parents agreed, so they sat us down and told us, and mentioned that they had already spent the money saved for the trip. They said things will change for a couple of years, but we'll have a new member of the family. I was so pissed and hurt, and I just walked out. I walked away from my parents and ignored when they called me back. They were so angry about it, and when my grandparents found out, they offered to pay for the trip for me. But my parents said they would stop them paying directly, and if they gave the money to me or them, they will make sure it goes on more important things. They called me childish and petty for walking away like I did. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I feel sorry for you. Still, it's the first time I hear the foster parents care more about their foster children than their bio one. Usually it's the other way around. Have you ever considered living with your grandparents? It seems to me you got a lot better contact with them. Not the a-hole. You reacted really maturely, I think, not throwing a tantrum in front of your siblings. You do take care of them too. It seems to me like you're the third parent and you have to sacrifice a lot of things. You're not at an age to be a parent, and you did not choose to behave like that. Your parents should treat everyone, including you, the same way. They created your resentment, you're right. Your grandparents seem really great. Is there a chance for you to go stay with them for some time? If your parents disagree, you can be petty and say it would be one less child to take care of. Take the laptop with you. Start telling everybody you know about the household dynamics, how you are pushed aside and they keep adding kids, that they want you to get a job so that you can help provide for the family. Tell your teachers and school counselors. Give all your neighbors fodder for gossip. If your parents are part of a church group, make a fuss to them about the unfairness. Make such a big noise that your parents send you to your grandparents' house so that you will stop bad-mouthing them. You've been cooperative and quiet, and that has not worked to your favor. So go the opposite direction, not the a-hole.